Season 3 saw impressive dominance from both class champions, but Season 4 arrived with much anticipation for the new blood ready to challenge the veterans. The teams arrived at Daytona International Speedway for the traditional 2.4-hour endurance season opener. Rookie Kimmo Suominen did not disappoint and duly grabbed pole in GS, while Dan Rash lined up second. In ST, James Stevenson managed to continue his stranglehold by starting in first, with Dexter Castro completing the front row. Lap 1 began with a very patient field, but by lap 2, Rash overtook Kimmo and the top 3 quickly began to separate from the rest. On lap 8, Travis Mims slipped the bounds of the asphalt in the Western Horseshoe, but returned without damage. Back in ST, Castro chose a conservative start and settled in behind the number 426 of Stevenson. Farther back, Marco Mogren found himself nosed into the inside wall and brought out the first caution on lap 10. Oddly, after the yellow was already out, Dan Rash went off at the Western Horseshoe, just tapping the tire wall. The restart rekindled many fights, but Hang Ho Tao nearly came out the worst and just escaped a meeting with a tire barrier. Up at the front of ST, Stevenson started experiencing problems and eventually came into the pits. On lap 21, chaos erupted in turn 1 when the GS cars of Trago, Chad Peterson, and Mim collected one another in a mess of smoke. The timing of the caution proved terrible for Stevenson, who was put a lap down after his pit stop. With James' misfortune, Castro inherited first. Green soon returned, but the car slowed once again on lap 28 when multiple unrelated accidents unfolded at once. Jarrett Lawson, Thomas Torp, Eric Biggs, Marshall Williams, and Josh Leutz were all involved. Many cars took the opportunity to pit, which left Randy Chinnock to lead the field on the restart. But the green was short-lived. Mogren was knocked loose by Hang Ho Tao and collected Stevenson. Even after repairs, his car eventually cried enough and the double champion was forced to park it. The strange curse on turn 5 continued, with yet another pileup ensuing after the yellow flag was thrown. Strodbeck took the green this time, but before Marshall Williams could even reach the start-finish line, a checkup in the field sent him into the wall in avoidance. The marshals decided to withhold the caution, but it was for naught since Moriane initiated a chain reaction at the now notorious Western Horseshoe, and the field returned to yellow. By the time they went back to racing, Eric Smith had shuffled into the GS lead. Unfortunately, he buckled under the pressure of Kimmo and handed away the lead in turn 1. Back in ST, Dexter Castro made an incredible run by going from 5th to 1st in a single lap. But the racing gods held one more caution flag in their hands as the final yellow of the day was set off by James Brown. The last restart of the race kicked off with less than 15 minutes left available on the clock. Rash and Strodbeck both began to fight and claw their way up the rankings. When they reached Chinnock in second, one of the most memorable three-way battles in CESCS history erupted. Dan, Randy, and Brian came to physical blows and swapped positions time after time. But in the final run, Rash took home second, while Strodbeck and Chinnock came together and the number 68 Mustang skidded to a halt only a few yards from the line, giving third to Brian. In front of it all, the cool, calm, and collected Kimmo Suominen cruised away with the win in his very first Conti start, proving himself a force to be reckoned with. In ST, after the final restart, Dexter Castro took off like a shot, while Leutz and Lawson scrabbled for second. But strategy ruled the day yet again as Lawson had to pit for fuel with less than 3 minutes left to go. In a tragic ending for Eric Biggs, he lost control while jockeying for position and bended on the final stretch. Meanwhile, Reinold just eked out the second spot on the podium over Leutz by a scant 4/100ths of a second. But the day saw two first-time winners as Dexter Castro took the checkered flag for the ST class. With Season 4 now underway, the drivers arrive in the Great White North of Mosport. It's an old-school track meets new-school racing as the teams attempt to tame the rolling hills of Canadian Tire Motorsports Park.